and welcome to the Wayfaring Panda. I'm Annette. Today I'm participating in Fellow Sketch February that is put on by Sandy Reversky, and her Facebook group where she has the sketches is called Scrapping Reflections, and she also has a YouTube channel called Stay Goddess, and you can see some process videos there. I also have a link to the playlist where Sandy and other creators have posted videos using the different sketches. Today I'm using the Day 15 sketch, which was made by Stacy Daubenberger. I hope I said that right. Anyway, you can get the sketch on Sandy's Facebook page. And I have that up above so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm doing the companion page to a birthday party that I did on Monday. And I'm using a different sketch than I did on that day. But they'll kind of tie together because, first of all, they are pictures from the same event. And I'm using papers from the same scrapbook collection, which is Simple Stories, their Summer Snapshot collection. I'm just using my Fiskars trimmer to trim the paper. I did have trouble with the striped one. I didn't quite get the branding strip cut off correctly, and the Fiskars trimmer wouldn't trim it really well with a clean edge on the really small amount, so I went off screen for a bit to trim it on my guillotine trimmer. That one's really heavy and metal, so I don't want to put it on my glass mat. I cut the floral paper in a rectangle to be that piece of paper that lies behind the photos, and then I'm using the striped paper to cut some strips to go underneath the photos. I do keep consulting the sketch to see about how big to make all the papers. I'm using this black paper with the dots as my background paper, and I already gutted out a piece of paper, the white one with the dots, for my frame, and I stitched around the inside of the frame like it showed in the layout. I did that with turquoise thread, and I used the gutted whited dot paper on the other layout, so that way it'll tie the two companion pages together, as well as using stitching on both of the layouts. Then I put down all my papers and photos to see how everything fit into the layout, and I decided I wanted to cut the flower paper a little bit more narrow so that it'd be a little bit more narrow as it is in the sketch, although not quite as much because I had to adjust the papers a little bit because I'm using two 4x6 photos instead of one 4x6 or whatever the vertical one is, plus those two little ones. So mine are wider, so I had to adjust the frame when I cut that out and make it a narrower frame to allow me to use these two larger photos. I'm going around some of the edges of my papers with some Salvaged Patina and my blending tool just to give it an extra dimension, and also I did that on the corresponding layout. I picked the Salvaged Patina because that ink went really well with the colors that were in the papers, but also with the embellishments that I bought to use with this photo album. I didn't have any embellishments from Simple Stories other than the sticker sheet that came with the collection, and those were all summery type of stickers, and most of them had words on them, and they were all in English. I'm making this photo album for a girl in Mexico, so I didn't think that would be very good, and so I purchased some other embellishments from Hobby Lobby that matched this collection really well as far as the colors. And this turquoise color seemed to be one that's in a lot of the embellishments. It's also one of my favorite colors, and on one of the earlier photos I did for this album, the girl I'm giving it to was wearing turquoise. So even though I know her favorite colors are red and black, she must also like this color. After I cleaned up the table, I realized I forgot to cut up my doily that it shows in the layout. I have a stash of these Doodlebug doilies, and they're in white. So what I've done in the past, I have sprayed them with my mica mist if I want them to be a different color. So I thought I would try putting some ink on here, so I'm just going to pounce on it so that I don't tear it, because I think if you tried to blend it, it would just wrinkle and tear the paper. I have seen doilies come in different colors, but you would have to have a lot of colors to match whatever you might use them in, whereas if you have just white and then either spray them, paint them, or put ink on them, you could put whatever color that you want, and that way you only have to have one pack of doilies instead of a whole bunch of different colors. You can also use die cuts, if you have a die cutting machine, to make doilies, or probably in a cutting machine you can also make some paper cuts that look like doilies. Then I use my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to glue my papers on, and I'm using that because you can have a little bit of leeway to move it around, whereas some of the tapes that I use, it pretty much adheres right away, and then if you don't get it quite straight, then you might rip your paper trying to get it off. Now, it's a good thing I did that because I do get it on a little bit crooked and had to adjust it. And in fact, I had a little bit of glue that kind of shows over on the right-hand side of the layout. I try to get that up as much as possible, but at least it does dry clear. Now, this glue does dry pretty fast, so you have a little bit of leeway, but I couldn't quite get it all up when I tried to put it on another piece of paper that was going to glue onto the layout. But I just decided I'll move on because it's probably not going to be noticeable anyway. I continue using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to adhere the papers to the layout. And the great thing with this, having the dots all in a line, it makes it easier to get your papers on straight, which is something I have challenge with, even with a ruler or dots or whatever you have, as you saw earlier with the frame. I do also make some adjustments to where the doilies are, and you can see, of course, the papers are a little bit different than in the sketch to accommodate my larger photos. So when you do pick a sketch to use, don't feel like you have to have the exact amount of photos that's in there. I just replace those two smaller ones with the larger one, and then also my photos are probably larger than the ones they have on there anyway. So just adjust the paper or whatever you need to do. Maybe if yours is smaller, you might add some extra embellishments to work for you. I decided to use some washi tape from Say Cheese Fantasy Collection instead of using the thinner strip on the layout. First of all, because it gives a little bit different thing on there, and also I have lots of washi tape, so I'm trying to use it. I matted my photos on some pale pink cardstock, and I'm using mounting squares to adhere them to my layout. Now the photos, I put some post-it tape over the faces so that I can protect the privacy of the girl that I'm making this for. The sketch doesn't really show any other embellishments other than the doilies, but it does have a title and also another piece of paper that's up by that top doily, which I didn't put on there. So in those two places, I'm going to embellish with some flowers, and then I'm going to add an additional over towards the right-hand side, so I'll have a visual triangle. All the flowers came from the Paper Studio, and I thought that those colors went really well with this paper collection. Now, even though the sketch doesn't show adding flowers or any other type of embellishments, you can add whatever you want to a sketch, and that's what makes it neat to see everybody's take on the sketches. So after you finish watching this video, hop along. I'll have a playlist at the end of this video as well in the description below, where you can see all the other people's videos using this sketch as well as sketches from the other 27 days in February. I'll put a list of all the products that I'm using. Some of them will have affiliate links. They don't cost you anything extra to use, but I do get a small commission from any sales that the links generate, and that helps support my channel. As an extra bit of embellishment and bling, I decided to add these gems from a Paper Studio, which I think go really well with these flowers. I made a video of the companion page to this layout, and at the end of this video I'll put a link to that one in case you're interested in seeing that. I want to thank you so much for watching the video. If you liked it, please give it a like, and if you're not already a subscriber, I'd really appreciate if you can subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.